Good evening and welcome to the Nevis Newscast. Today is Monday, June 29th, 2015. I'm Donis Wilkinson-Keynes. The coral reefs around the Nevis are in decline, similar to what seems to be happening regionally.
We're not seeing anything different here than we're seeing in Montserrat or Antigua. And part of that reason is that the things that stress a reef are not just local stressors. There's things that are regional, but there's also global stress on reefs. I mean, just a rise in seawater can put a stress on a reef, and that's not something that happened locally. That's a global effect. So it's hard to understand when you look at a reef and you see that it's in decline. It's very difficult to point to one or two reasons. It could be multiple reasons, and those reasons might not be acting locally. They could be a global effect plus a local effect combined together, which makes it very challenging.
That was James Hewlett, who last week visited Nevis as part of his university program to monitor the reefs in the waters around the Nevis. Hewlett notes that climate change is one of the major factors affecting the health of reefs and that islands are not often in a position to combat these issues.
The two big ones, other than water temperature, involve changes in storms, so the frequency of storms, the pattern of storms, the direction of storms, because climate change can really have a big shift in the way storms develop, how they travel. So if you have a reef that's been around for millions of years and has been in a pattern of storms, it's learned to adapt to that pattern. And with climate change, you get a shift, and that can have a major effect on reefs, especially if you've got a lot of storms that come through in a short number of years that develop differently and come in a different direction, so different wave energies and things like that. And the other thing that is a global effect, which you don't see as much yet, but it's a trend that is somewhat alarming, is the acidification of oceans. And with CO2 in the atmosphere, when CO2 goes into the water, it forms an acid. And around the globe, there's this trend of this slight drop in the pH, or the acidity of the ocean. And that's alarming because corals, their skeleton is very difficult for them to make if the pH gets too low.
He believes that education is the best way to go and that persons in the community can make small changes that would help to improve the reef conditions. In terms of the fishing possibilities and the livelihood of fishermen, the team is encouraging the creation of marine reserves.
Around St. Kitts and Nevis, you have no area management. It's what they want to do with the Ekman. So you have no protected area. So you have any place that you could go, you could catch anything you want. So that is one of the big thing. So I'm pretty sure if we go to Saba or Statia right now, do the same survey, we will see a big difference because they have a marine reserve for 1984, I think. So quite a long time. So that is the first thing. And for fish, for sure, if you have a quota of a size that you could catch, it will help too. Because most of the fish that we survey on our survey, they are too small, way too small.
Valerie Gregoire resides on Nevis and is certified in reef checks and participates in the annual program that monitors the health of the coral reefs around the Nevis. The application period for the University of the West Indies, the UWI Open Campus in St. Kitts and Nevis, has been extended. Prospective students who wish to enroll for classes, which will begin in September, now have an additional 3 weeks in which to do so. Sarah Owen is the head of the UWI Open Campus in St. Kitts and Nevis.
So for those who started applications and they were worried that it closes tomorrow and you might not have a wide enough window to get everything completed, we are very pleased to let you know that it has now been extended to July 17th. Also, for those who are considering applying and perhaps did not get the process started, you can start the process, you can submit your documents, and you can still get in for the September start. So we're quite excited about that.
The UWI Open Campus, according to Owen, is now offering some exciting new programs at the bachelor's, master's, and doctorate levels.
So we're now doing doctorates in educational leadership, in higher education, and in schools and systems, as well as Master of Sciences in Management with specializations as well. a lot of BSc in management studies with various specializations, including hospitality, including international management, marketing. There's really quite a lot to look at. We're doing BScs in psychology, sociology, political science. So we are at www.open.uwi.edu. So you can check all of the information on our programs, and that application deadline is extended to July 17th.
Isabel Byron on June 1st took up the post of coordinator of the UE Open Campus site on Nevis. She told us why it is convenient to have a site on the island.
It's the persons who do the online programs at UE, the distance education program. They're people who are working, who are normally pursuing full-time jobs and studying after working hours and so on, so it's much more convenient for them. So my role is to coordinate it. We also have a technical assistant, Mr. Dwight Wallace, who's been working with us for several years, the past 10 years, very experienced, and we have an administrative assistant also we're based at the Ministry of Education.
The UE Open Campus site is seeking to increase its enrollment, Byron adds.
Presently we have, I think, 25 persons enrolled doing degree courses, and this year so far we have 17 persons who have registered to begin the program. But we want it to get much higher than that. The whole point is to try and encourage people to consider this program, which is this option, which is a lot cheaper than, say, going overseas to study one or doing sometimes online courses with other institutions. And also the online option, it's very demanding because you have to be very disciplined, you have to be very organized in your whole lifestyle to do it. But at the same time, it affords you the possibility, as Ms. Owen said, as Sarah said, to stay with your family, to fit it into your career plans as well.
Prospective students can visit the UE Open Campus site at the Pinnis Industrial Estate or contact site coordinator Isabel Byron at 469-0389 or the head office on St. Kitts at 465-2190. Two bills are expected to be introduced for subsequent debate when the St. Kitts and the Nevis National Assembly meets tomorrow, Tuesday, June 30th. The main order of business will be the introduction of the Banking Bill 2015, as it is of extreme importance to the banking sector of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, while the second bill, the Citizenship by Investment Amendment Bill 2015, will be the first of significant measures to be introduced to improve the regulation of the Economic Citizenship Program. The introduction of the bills will be preceded by announcements by Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Franklin Brand, prayers, and the taking of the oath of allegiance by those members of Parliament who were absent from the first sitting. Tomorrow's sitting will also see statements by ministers and personal statements by the members. The sitting is slated to commence at 10 a.m. at the National Assembly Chambers at Government Headquarters on St. Kitts. Coming up,
I would tonight like to thank the organizing committee for this very special anniversary celebration tonight.
The details after this break.
Yeah, tell me when you're ready.
Give me some space, give me some space, give me some space. Give me some room and make me mash up the place.
Culture was nice. And watch out, this is going to be the nicest culture.
Welcome back. Some of the major challenges confronting Caribbean governments in relation to good governance and electoral reform were put in context by Prime Minister the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris at a recent regional forum in Antigua and Barbuda. The multifaceted issues surrounding good governance touched on the move by some administrations to operate outside of the Constitution, as well as the ability of citizens to question and challenge representatives for unseemly behavior. Motions of no confidence, integrity in public life, tenders, boards, and freedom of information legislation were highlighted as instruments to promote transparency and a true democracy and were described as hallmarks of good governance. With respect to electoral reform, the voters' list was described as the heart of the electoral process. The importance of cleaning the list periodically to remove names of the deceased, campaign finance rules, the rights of voters residing abroad, and the support for the Electoral Commission were all mentioned. These are some of the issues which St. Kitts and Nevis has to place before its citizens for their consideration and input, Prime Minister Harris noted, while addressing delegates at the one-day forum dubbed CARICOM Overcoming Challenges, Pathway to Development. He said, as servants of the people, there must be a clear sense of the reform which must be engaged in and plan the way forward to guarantee a true democracy. Ambassador Dr. Clarence Henry of Antigua and Barbuda, who played a key role in the forum's staging, praised the Prime Minister Harris for capturing the imagination of persons regarding his vision of CARICOM today and beyond. He said both Prime Minister Harris and host Prime Minister Gaston Brown make a powerful force as demonstrated during the opening ceremony and will continue their collaboration during the forthcoming meeting of the regular conference of CARICOM heads of government scheduled for Thursday 2nd to Saturday 4th July in Barbados. Candidate for the post of Commonwealth Secretary General, Baroness Patricia Scotland, has described her visit to the Federation as very productive and truly enjoyable. Prime Minister the Honourable Dr. Timothy Harris on Thursday, June 25th, met with Baroness Scotland. Prime Minister Harris said he was delighted to have met with Baroness Scotland, whom he described as being very well informed. The Prime Minister further said that her visit was very enlightening. At the beginning of her visit, Baroness Scotland paid a courtesy call upon Governor-General, His Excellency Tapley Seaton. She also met with Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honourable Mark Brantley, and Attorney General, the Honourable Vincent Byron. In addition to meeting with several government officials, Baroness Scotland also met with some former parliamentarians, including the nation's first Prime Minister, Sir Dr. Kennedy Simmons, former Deputy Prime Minister and current UN Ambassador, His Excellency Sam Conda, and the first woman elected to Parliament, Constance Mitcham, a former Minister of Health and Women's Affairs. She was particularly touched that Sir Kennedy fondly remembered her father, Arthur Scotland, a former Antiguan cricketer of note. Baroness Scotland, the first woman to ever hold the post of Her Majesty's Attorney General of England, Wales and Northern Ireland, is the candidate of the Government of Dominica. Former CARICOM Deputy Secretary General Lolita Applewaite accompanied Baroness Scotland on her visit. A grand celebration held at the Nevis Performing Arts Centre on Friday was held in honor of Pastor Eversley Pemberton of the Bath New Testament Church of God, who has achieved a significant milestone. Felicia Liebert has the details in this report.
The Nevis Evangelical Association, in collaboration with the New Testament churches here on Nevis, hosted an appreciation service for Pastor Eversley Pemberton, who recently celebrated 40 years in the ministry. The ceremony, which was held at the Nevis Performing Arts Centre, consisted of various poems, prayers, dances, and singing from churches around the island. The profile of Pastor Pemberton was read by Vera Jeffers of the Bath New Testament Church of God, where Pemberton is the pastor.
Reverend Pemberton believes in and is a promoter of cooperation amongst denominations. Over several years, he has served the Nevis Evangelical Association in numerous capacities and its first president as coordinator and ex officio member. He has also served on various committees of the Nevis Christian Council. The commitment to furthering and promoting education is reflected in Pastor Pemberton's service to the Nevisian community. He has spearheaded the building of 2 education centers, an effort to meet and enhance the preschool needs of these communities, and has been an active participant in several forums organized by the Education Department. Over time, he has assumed the role of school chaplain to most of the schools in Charlestown and is currently the chaplain at the Charlestown Secondary School, where he also serves as an invigilator for overseas examinations.
Althea Jones presented Pastor Pemberton with a gift on behalf of the New Testament Churches of God on Nevis.
On behalf of the New Testament Churches of God on Nevis, Pastor Pemberton, we are truly blessed to have a great man like you working amongst us. Your 40 years of service has secured a solid foundation for our churches here in Nevis. You believe in giving recognition to those who serve in the work of the Lord. Today, we are giving back to you. We can't pay you for your 40 years of exemplary service, but at least we can show some appreciation.
Pemberton, accompanied by his wife, expressed his sincere thanks.
You must not go out there and allow God's people to give you high blood pressure, ulcerated stomach, or allow them to cause you to have a nervous breakdown. They are God's people, and God not having any of these with his people, neither should you. I would tonight like to thank the organizing committee for this very special anniversary celebration tonight.
There were various other tributes to Pastor Pemberton from members of the clergy from churches around the island. Canon Ernest Fleming chaired the event, while the featured speaker for the evening's event was Reverend Keith Williams out of Jamaica. I am Felicia Librad reporting for the Nevis Newscast.
Thanks, Felicia. That's it for this evening's edition of the Nevis Newscast. On behalf of all of us here at the Department of Information, I'm Donis Wilkinson Keynes saying thank you for viewing. Good night.